standing high from out the broad low valleys 'neath the sky. Our alma mater calls, we cannot fail. Our voices blend in praise. Pacific hail, Pacific hail.
That song, of course, was Pacific Hail. We thought it was appropriate to start today's celebration of the life and legacy of our dear friend Judy Chambers with her favorite song. And for this truly remarkable woman who lived for Pacific, for her students, and for our community, we also thought it was fitting to have it sung by a new Pacific graduate, the immensely talented Philo Abid. Philo, thank you. Well done. Good morning, all, and thank you for joining us today in historic Faye Spanos Concert Hall for our tribute to this truly iconic Pacifican, the grande dame of our university and our Stockton community. It is impossible to try to tell the full story of Judy Chambers and her relationship with this university, this community, and all of you in a single ceremony. But we will try to do our best to give you at least a taste of the enormous impact that Judy had on University of the Pacific, on her adopted city of Stockton that she loved so, American higher education, and most importantly, all of us. We have on stage today just six of the hundreds of people, probably more like thousands of people, who formed such special, close friendships with Judy over the years and over the generations, dating back to her arrival at Pacific as an undergraduate student in 1954, nearly 70 years ago. And we've asked each of our six speakers to take a chapter of Judy's life to share with us. We will start with chapter 1. Judy Chambers, the pioneer, a person who truly blazed new trails for so many, especially young women. I'm honored to introduce to you Professor Susan Heraldez, who started her relationship with Judy back when she was an undergraduate at Pacific and continued through today to her role as a gifted faculty member at Pacific. Dr. Heraldez.
Thank you, President Callahan. So let me just start by saying that aside from my own mother, Judy Chambers has been the most influential person in my life. I was a 19-year-old college student when we met. She, of course, was the vice president of student life. Then just over a decade later, I came back to Pacific, this time as a faculty member. The relationship changed a bit, and Judy and I got to start having lunch together. And you all know how fun that is. In fact, as soon as she retired, our lunches started stretching out so long, I just blocked off my whole afternoon. We talked about everything. I mean, Stockton politics, Pacific gossip for sure. Family, step family. Both of us had step families. Neither of us ever used the word step. We always talked about the latest news of our students here at Pacific, former students, student leaders, like I think you can see somewhere there. There, Randy Bass sitting with me and with Judy. Randy became a regent. I know that it's a pretty faded photo, but there he is. So from where I'm standing now, I have all these multiple perspectives from which to consider Judy. That student and administrator relationship, the faculty administrator relationship, and we were fellow alums. We both lived in Southwest Hall, and we both had a really good time there. I know because she told me a lot of stories about her days there. She was my mentor throughout. Best of all, she was my friend, always. But my job today is to talk about Judy the Pioneer. That's an easy task because she was a trailblazer from start to finish in her profession, in her community, and all that she did. But let's go back about, sorry to say this, 45 years. Don't tell anyone. It was that long ago. Don't tell my students, especially. So I'm a student. Judy Chambers is busy all over the place transforming the role of women. It's 1979. And the Pacifican, our student newspaper, well, the editorship had been traditionally male, and a young woman by the name of Sharon Fox had just taken over as editor-in-chief. I'm managing editor, and I'm positioned next in line for the editorship. Oh wow, 2 women in a row. That wasn't supposed to happen. There was some resistance. How fortunate we were to have Judy as our mentor. She taught us that there are many ways to achieve a goal, that it takes vision, determination, time, patience, tenacity. Also, that a keen sense of humor is a great ingredient that'll take you very far if you've got a sense of humor. And of course, we all know she did. Now, by that time, Vice President Judy Chambers had already broken a very big barrier as the first female cabinet member at Pacific. She was on to her next thing, working toward becoming the first woman to join the Stockton Rotary Club. Now, for context, this was a very big deal. 1978, Rotary International revoked the charter of a club in Southern California for admitting 3 women. This was going through the courts, both at the state level here in California, and it was going to go on to the federal level. So again, very big deal. And by the way, Pacific's president, Stanley McCaffrey, was poised to become the president of Rotary International. Very big deal. So Judy and I talked about this a lot. She would talk about her approach. First, how she gained the support of President McCaffrey. And then the steps that were yet to come. Why it was important to be part of Rotary. It's one of the largest service organizations in the world, not the country, the world. Now I used to look at her and she'd have that sparkle in her eyes and I'd think, this woman, she's gonna prevail, she's gonna win. And she did, but not for a while. I graduated and I left, and it wasn't until 1987, following a Supreme Court decision, when President McCaffrey was finally able to successfully nominate Judy for membership in the Stockton Club, and the rest is history. Now, I bet your lunches, I know some of you from Stockton Rotary are here, I bet your lunches got so much more fun once Judy was there. The Judy Chambers push forward, though, was never about Judy. Wherever she went, many more would follow. She was the trailblazer, she was clearing a path for people like Tony Castro, class of 1985. Tony is a CIP alum. She went on to become an award-winning student life vice president herself. So this last week, I called Tony at her home in Seattle. She got really emotional remembering Judy. She called her an oracle for student life professionals. Yeah, an oracle she was. She was years ahead in her thinking. She focused on student success before it was even a thing. Before anyone talked about student-centered or equity and inclusion, Judy just did it. A learning center for skills development, the Services for Student with Disabilities office. Danny, it was Judy that started that. Blame her for all the work you have. Multicultural affairs. Judy introduced it. She introduced all of those things, and then she made us all stakeholders, the faculty, the students, the staff, the administration, the whole community. Going on in our conversation, Tony said, and here I'm going to have to quote her directly because I can't say it any better than she did. Quote, Judy had no agenda other than to do what was right and to serve student needs. She was a champion for equity, and she was brilliant in her ability to navigate environments, to move things forward, and to leave each place better than she found it. Tony went on to emphasize Judy's deep feelings for each of us as students, as colleagues, as friends. And that again brings to mind my favorite photo. The one that's not up here, but you'll see it. You've already seen it. It's the one taken at last May's graduation, just after she presented the Order of the Pacific to Norm Allen. It's all over social media, you can find it. You see this deep emotion in her eyes. You see the same emotion in Norm's. That photo says everything about her relationship with students, about how she felt about us, and how we continue to feel about her. So these past few weeks, and today, I feel overwhelmed with the magnitude of loss. But I try to think about that twinkle in Judy's eyes, and I try to remind myself about how she dealt with life and with loss, how she would always cherish memories and then look forward to the next adventure. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for those beautiful words and memories. Our next chapter is Judy Chambers, the educator. From early on, Judy believed that a great Pacific education must include teaching of young students outside the classroom in addition to inside the classroom. And that is why she formed such powerful relationships and friendships with so many of our great faculty members over the years. I'm delighted to bring up to the podium Professor Jean Pearson, who served this university with distinction as a faculty member for more than 50 years. Dr. Pearson.
I am both honored and humbled to have been invited to say a few words about my friend and colleague, Judy Chambers, and her deep commitment to student-centered learning here at Pacific. Judy's many experiences as a Pacific student, the challenges she faced during her freshman year, her year as president of the Association of Women Students, and teaching speech classes as a graduate student, as well as her experiences at Mount Union College, both as Dean of Women and an assistant professor of speech, allowed her to gain deep insight into a variety of educational approaches, both within and outside of the classroom. Judy realized that a division of student life could provide much more than just nutritious food, a place to sleep, and wellness facilities. Student life could also provide life-changing education through career counseling, recreational opportunities, and by supporting a diversity of student-led organizations that help students develop both social and leadership skills. Judy also recognized that joint programs involving both student life professionals and faculty acting as partners could be important components of the educational process. My first introduction to Judy took place right here in Faye Spanos Concert Hall on a June morning in the 1970s. I had volunteered to be a faculty advisor in the freshman orientation program, which Judy established shortly after she was appointed vice president by President McCaffrey. Judy was on the stage and gave the opening presentation for the soon-to-be freshman students and their families. From my seat near the back of this concert hall, I was awed by Judy's outstanding presentation. With incredible clarity and a touch of humor, she introduced the students and their families to Pacific's approach to education, as well as the goals of the 3-day orientation program. During those 3 days, small groups of soon-to-be freshman students met with a 2-person advising team, a faculty member, and an upper-level Pacific student who had received advising training from student life professionals. Each of the student-faculty teams worked with their small group of first-year students not only during the summer orientation program, but also throughout much of the freshman year at Pacific, thus ensuring that the transition from high school to college went smoothly. My advisees seemed to especially appreciate having both a student peer advisor as well as a faculty advisor to listen to their concerns and provide guidance. Another new program that Judy introduced in the 1980s was themed residence halls. If my memory's correct, one residential facility was focused on healthy lifestyles, another on intercultural experiences, and a third on leadership and community involvement. Faculty were asked to hold office hours inside the residence halls and help with educational programming. One of my faculty colleagues who participated in the leadership and community involvement residence hall even spent one spring break with some of the students on a Habitat for Humanity project in Philadelphia. Under Judy's leadership, faculty served as advisors to many student organizations. Judy also appointed faculty to almost all student life committees, including program evaluation and hiring committees. Judy felt it was important that faculty both understand and contribute to the decision-making process in student life. Under Judy's leadership, faculty-student life educational partnerships were a reality and not just a concept. This past week, I talked with several of my faculty colleagues about their experience with Judy. They told me that they always look forward to their interactions and described Judy using some of the following terms: caring, friendly, genuine, straightforward, honest, innovative, optimistic, charming, elegant, vivacious, courageous, tenacious, and yes, even spunky. All mentioned her exceptional leadership skills, her amazing speaking ability, and her sense of humor. Judy was definitely a class act. I am so very thankful that a YWCA counselor in Southern California, a Pacific alumna, encouraged Judy to consider attending college at Pacific. That Judy's uncle was able to provide the financial support so that Judy could attend Pacific. And that Kay Davis, Pacific's Dean of Women in the 1950s, was able to convince Judy not to withdraw from Pacific during her freshman year. With her deep understanding of student-centered learning, both within and outside the classroom, her outstanding leadership skills, her always positive approach to problem solving, her keen insight, and her wonderful sense of humor, Judy enriched the lives of so many, many Pacific students, both through personal contact and the educational programs she helped implement. Judy was a trusted friend and colleague to students, alumni, staff, and faculty at Pacific. Our interactions with her greatly enriched our lives, and our many wonderful memories of Judy Chambers will not soon be forgotten.
Thank you so much, Gene. By the way, that's one Pacific icon paying tribute to another Pacific icon. While Judy was an essential part of our Pacific family, she also played a central role in the civic and cultural life of our community here in the city of Stockton. We're honored to have with us today Kathy Jansen, a dear and longtime friend of Judy's and a fellow great Stockton civic leader who will explore with us Judy's impact across the Stockton community. Kathy?
I don't know when I first met Judy. I've thought about it and I just can't remember. It just seems like we were always friends. It maybe was sometime in the early 90s when I first joined the Board of Regents, or maybe it was just because we saw each other at so many community events, crossing paths and connecting. But just like most of you, whenever that was, once I met Judy, we were friends. We had a friendly game we played. She first introduced me for an award in 2004. Then a few years later, I was finally able to reciprocate and introduced her when she received the Goodwill Helping Hands Award. We went back and forth after that, taking turns introducing each other. Of course, Judy always did an amazing job. But here I am today, talking publicly about my friend for one last time. Judy was a gift to Stockton and to all of us. She gave of herself to serve so many nonprofits and organizations in the community. You've heard that she was the first female Rotarian in Stockton. She started the Adopt a Highway program for that group and greatly influenced the future of that organization, so today that it's 50% women, and women are a major part of its leadership. During all the years that Judy worked at Pacific, she chaired the United Way employee giving campaigns. She also served on their board and was president. Until her passing, she was impactful and worked with the Eleanor Project and the Women United Project, making a real difference for United Way. She also served on the Dameron Hospital Foundation Board, Transitional Learning Center Board, was president of the Delta Healthcare Board, and of the Stockton Chamber of Commerce Board, greatly influencing each of those groups. When she was on the Stockton Beautiful Board, she was the liaison with Pacific and helped develop the signage and plantings for the median strip on Pacific Avenue, just south of the Calaveras, that beautifies that space today. After Jim died, she was so impressed with the compassionate care that hospice had provided for him during his last days that she went to hospice, knocked on their door, and volunteered her services. They quickly accepted, and she went on to serve on their board as chair of their nominating committee. Judy had such great leadership abilities and the talent to bring people together, and she brought those to the city of Stockton. She was a force and a change maker in each of these organizations. Her efforts permeate throughout the fabric of Stockton. She was also a great supporter of the arts. She was a season ticket holder for both the Stockton Symphony and the Stockton Civic Theater. And of course, she had a group of friends with whom she attended each performance, usually preceded or followed by a meal, a glass or two of wine, and many laughs. In addition to the symphony and theater groups, Judy had lots of other social circles, being best friends with everyone. Our coffee group joked that each one of us considered Judy one of our best friends. I'm sure this room today is filled with people who consider themselves Judy's best friend. The coffee group was started about 40 years ago. We shared our celebrations, our ailments, and our sorrows, as good friends do. Judy always brought her wit, much laughter, warmth, and caring. The WIM group, Women Who Have an Interest in Money, met for 27 years. Drinking wine, planning parties and getaways, and sometimes even talked about money. Judy was the leader of this group of friends for many years. They called their leader the Empress. I think that's so fitting for Judy because she was regal and she was an empress. She was also part of the Thirsty Thursday, a group of neighbors, which started during COVID because Judy said she needed human contact. These ladies quickly became another of Judy's families of best friends. There are several other social groups, standing lunch dates, standing dinner dates, so Judy's social calendar was always full. She was a faithful member of the St. Anne's Episcopal Church community. Judy and I had many conversations about religion and the state of the churches in Stockton. In most of these organizations, Judy was also a mentor to the younger professional women, taking them under her wing, offering friendship, caring, and life advice. And of course, along the way, these young women became lifelong friends. As you've heard, Judy received many awards from her community. The first Athena Award, the Goodwill Helping Hands Award, the first Woman of the Year Award from the Stockton Chamber of Commerce, the Susan B. Anthony Award, and many others. This recognition from her community was not because she gave large amounts of money, although she was very generous, but because she gave of herself. And she did so with her unique brand of charm, strength, warmth, and caring. As I mentioned earlier, One of Judy's greatest gifts to the community was her being, to coin a phrase, the Empress of Ceremonies at hundreds of community events. No one could engage an audience with humor and grace like Judy. She stepped in for a sick MC one year for the Women's Wellness Conference, and she was such a hit that she was demanded back for several more years after that. Everyone looked forward to hearing Judy speak and always left smiling and laughing. And as Jean just mentioned, Judy got her training here at Pacific as a speech major, and her first job here was teaching speech. In a 2008 interview, when Judy was talking about the time when she returned to Stockton after being in Ohio, she said, "I was very happy. As you know, I have always loved living in Stockton. I know it's not a perfect place, but I have always thought it was just great." I can just hear her saying that. Judy loved Stockton, and she gave completely her talent, her empathy, and her service to its organizations and its people. She changed for the better every organization, every group, and every person that she encountered, and left an indelible mark on each of us. I hope that, should I be so fortunate to make it to heaven, that Judy will be there to introduce me for one last time to the 5 million new best friends that she's made. Rest in peace, my friend.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing your thoughts and memories today. In addition to her enormous impact on Stockton and on Pacific, Judy also made her mark on the national stage in higher education. Greg Boardman is a member of our Pacific Board of Regents and former Vice Provost of Student Life at Stanford University. Greg started his career under the mentorship of Vice President Chambers right here at Pacific. Regent Boardman.
Thank you, President Callahan. Good afternoon. Judy Chambers, an icon in the field of student affairs, well known throughout the country as an advocate who cared deeply for students, doing it all with her ever-present humor. This is just one of many tributes from her NASPA colleagues. NASPA, the professional home for student affairs, was Judy's home away from home. NASPA was that space to share best practices and issues of the day with colleagues around the region and the country. Judy entered the field when very few women were serving as senior student affairs officers, and thus very few women were available to her to serve as mentors to her. As she shined within the walls of Pacific, Judy also did so in this space as a trailblazer, a visionary, a role model, and mentor. She recalled, quote, "When I got involved in NASPA, I was told I would find a good old boys network. I joined NASPA in 1975, and a decade later, I was elected president. Judy took office in 1986. She had offered me an opportunity to take on additional duties as her assistant, working with her on her NASPA-related projects and other duties as assigned. Other duties as assigned, like being a chauffeur, accompanying her to NASPA regional and national meetings and conferences. Sorry. Paper's stuck together here. Anyway, I don't know what Judy would say in this situation. Okay. Getting back, once I was checked in the hotel, I would then go back, unpack the luggage, bring the luggage back to a parked car, refill the luggage with the alcohol we had brought, bring back the luggage to Judy's suite, where she was hosting an evening reception. And as we know, Judy enjoyed her wine, so it was rarely a single back and forth trip. Under Judy's leadership, the NASPA office was relocated from Columbus, Ohio to DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C., to be in a position to more effectively advocate on the higher education issues of the day. Another noteworthy accomplishment during her tenure, the publication of The Perspective of Student Affairs. This paper played an important role in the contemporary scene and in the history of higher education and the student affairs profession. In 1993, Judy became the chair of the NASPA Foundation Board, which financially supports scholarships, grants, and confers recognition awards. In short, it's the development arm of NASPA. Over the years, Judy was honored by NASPA for her leadership and accomplishments with several awards. In 1989, she was presented with the Fred Turner Award, the equivalent of a Lifetime Achievement Award. One would assume that would be the end, the pinnacle of Judy's career awards. Of course, it wasn't. In 1999, Judy received a Pillar of the Profession Award, honoring her legacy of extraordinary service to NASPA, and demonstrated sustained lifetime professional distinction in the field of student affairs and higher education. And then again, in 2016, she was the recipient of the John L. Blackburn Distinguished Pillar Award. This is NASPA Foundation's highest honor, presented to a previous Pillar of the Profession awardee who continued to grow and strengthen the student affairs field. Judy literally put the University of Pacific on the student affairs map. Despite all these awards, I know what meant more to Judy were the many friendships she made all over these years and the hundreds of new and mid-level professionals she mentored with whom she kept in touch with. Though NASPA was Judy's home away from home, her national influence went beyond NASPA. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan appointed Judy to serve on the board of directors for the Student Loan Marketing Association, better known as Sallie Mae. She was the first woman and the first non-university president appointed to the board. California Governor Pete Wilson appointed Judy to represent the state on the Western Interstate Commission on Higher Education. Damn paper. And the U.S. Department of Education invited her to be part of a small group of educators appointed to write the standards of the network to promote drug-free colleges and universities. Judy's national impact and influence in student affairs was undeniable, and no doubt about it, Judy's speech engagements were many and undeniably memorable. You always knew it would be special, always point on, and always filled with humor. No one delivered better. Just a short four months ago, Judy participated in her last NASPA program, a virtual panel exploring the history of women in NASPA and student affairs. During the Q&A, a colleague asked her, "How did you know when it was time to retire?" Judy responded she knew it was time when the president of Pacific called, and she put him on hold to make an appointment to get her nails done. However, once that spread, Judy was quick to deny that never really happened. Judy, thank you for your unconditional support and mentorship these 43 years we've known each other. You were instrumental in my professional development and career path. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for opening your home and letting me stay with you whenever I was in Stockton. Thank you for the many glasses of wine and stories we've shared over the years. We have laughed and cried together. You will always have a place in my heart. I will miss you. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for highlighting Judy's great national contributions. Our next chapter is Judy as confidant and advisor. Judy served that role for so many people over so many years, but it's important to remember the positive impact she continued to have even in her later years. My friend and colleague, Dr. Maria Blandisi, today is the Vice President for Student Life here at Pacific. Maria formed a very close personal and professional relationship with Judy over the past few years. Dr. Blandisi.
The last time Judy came over for dinner, she brought beautiful flowers from her garden. She came over early so that we could catch up before the dinner party arrived. Rick and I working together in the kitchen, Judy sitting at the counter sipping on a glass of Chardonnay. I recall her watching us lovingly, and I wondered if she was reflecting on her past loves, how much her partnership had centered her through the demands of her professional career, the way my partnership with Rick grounds me. The entire time we chatted, she never missed a beat. We talked college athletics, name, image, and likeness, or NIL, for those of you in the know, and the impact that it was having on our student athletes. We talked about the upcoming Board of Regents meeting and the agenda items that the board would be discussing. Judy encouraging me to find every opportunity to insert perspective and opine about whatever the topic was. Everything the university does impacts students, Maria, everything. On the upcoming agenda were plans to discuss Southwest Hall, where Judy had once lived, and Manor Hall. She was so proud that the Board of Regents had identified a specific committee to discuss matters of critical importance to student life and athletics, and that Regent Greg Boardman was leading that effort. We talked about preparing for the new provost. She was so impressed with the opportunity that President Callahan had given me to co-chair the search with the Academic Council co-chair. How excited and even giddy she was that I got to work alongside President Callahan and to work with a president that truly understands the importance of our students. She glowed when she described her relationship with President Callahan and First Lady Jean Callahan. And she had such affirmation for their leadership and presence in our community. And many times over, she stated that Chris and Jean's arrival in Stockton came just as it was supposed to, at just the right time. When we talked about supporting and working alongside presidents, she would reflect on her own memories, having served 9 past presidents. In March of 1975, the year I was born, President McCaffrey wrote this in a letter to Judy, quote, "I recommend to the regents of the university at the meeting yesterday in San Francisco the creation of this new office of the Vice President for Student Life and advise them of my intention to appoint you to the office as they approved its establishment. I explained that it was highly appropriate that this office be created in recognition of the fundamental importance of student life in the university and of the fact that a great many student services, which Jean Pearson highlighted, have been developed within the years as you had served as Dean of Students. Students are the heart of our university, and it is desire of us all that their experiences be a rich and rewarding one." She too loved that I had been a Dean of Students. We talked about the Summer High School Institute. She was blown away by the president's vision and Student Life's role in executing this critical program. And she shared with me many times over that oftentimes she referred to her job as the Vice President of Wild Affairs. And that June would have been one of those times in which she would have described herself as the Vice President for Wild Affairs. My one-on-one time with Judy was a gift. And for that evening, that's what we talked about. All of that in about a 45-minute pre-dinner conversation. And then our guests came over, and I wanted her to meet the new leaders in student life. We, Judy and I, wanted to connect the old with the new, her and I weaving in the lessons of the past into how to think through the opportunities of today. And that night, our dinner guests were student life leaders, the completely committed and loving Associate Vice President for Equity, Allison Dumas, our new Assistant Vice President for Housing, Residential Life, and Orientation, Josh O'Connor, our new Dean of Students, Jose Leon and his wife Lauren, and of course, the forever and everlasting Associate Vice President, Jess Marks, Judy's right hand for so many years. There are countless people that could talk about the impact Judy Chambers had on them personally and professionally, and I am profoundly humbled to be with you today and to be serving in the role that she defined. In only 2 years, she came to be my biggest cheerleader. And I've had to ask myself, can her impact ever be duplicated? Can it ever be replicated? It is unprecedented. And I'm at a loss for how to improve upon it. And I will live out my entire professional life trying to live up to the standard that Judy Chambers set. Judy Chambers defines the profession, and she defines this institution. And I inherited something incredible at just the right time. And what I inherited is what Judy defined and crafted. Everything Pacific means to the community was defined by Judy. And one thing that I find very remarkable about Judy was her relevance through the 7 decades she spent at Pacific. Norm Allen, student body president in the late 80s, was Judy's student. And today, the incoming student body president, Izzy Gomez, is one of Judy's students. Izzy first met Judy in the fall of 2021, and Izzy recalls reaching out to her as the recipient of the Dr. Judith M. Chambers Endowed Scholarship for CIP Leadership, and Izzy wanted to thank her. Right off the bat, they naturally fell into an easygoing relationship where Izzy described Judy that she was the most supportive, encouraging, confidant, and advisor. We'd have these random conversations he's sharing with me the other day, and after the fact, I always knew there was a point. But in the moment, it never felt like I was talking to an administrator or an elder that was trying to school me. Beginning on Monday, this coming Monday, Izzy will officially assume working out of the office located in the Judith M. Chambers Student Life Suite in the Don DeRosa University Center. And it is my hope, and he describes this, it is his hope, that student leaders from across all spaces will come together to chart the course forward, working together as Judy had envisioned. Allison Dumas shared with me, Judy empowered others through her leadership, her advocacy, and her friendship. Her contributions to Pacific, its students, staff, and the student life profession are still evident today, and I couldn't agree more. Judy's investment in Pacific was also an investment in local youth. Contributions to Judy's endowed scholarship for CIP leadership have dramatically gone up since she's passed, because we all know how committed Judy was to the community involvement program. And it's not just serendipitous that Izzy assumes his presidency this year. It's just as Judy had envisioned it, just at the right time. And I share Izzy's sentiments on how easy it was to catch up and connect with her. As I was settling into juggling my life and my new role when I first arrived, I asked her once how she managed her evening and nighttime routine when the days were long. Hoping to get advice from her about some quick ways that she sustained herself, I said, Judy, what do you do and what do you like to make for dinner? You all know exactly what she said. Without missing a beat, she said, reservations. And we all know she was great at it, or she was great at telling one of us to make reservations. How many of us have had lunch or dinner with Judy at one of her local favorites, Mezzos, or Octavios, or Garlic Brothers, or on campus at the River Room. You'd stop along the way. We've heard this time and time again. You'd stop along the way every time you entered and exited in a restaurant with Judy, and because there was always someone that wanted to greet her or that she wanted to connect with. She would take my hand and she would shepherd me to someone she wanted me to meet. And in the moment, I was more focused on holding Judy's hand and listening to the witty way in which she framed her relationship with whomever she was introducing me to. She was so smooth and so classy and so funny and so gracious and giving of her praise. Her sparkle, her nails, her bangles. I was literally starstruck and so enamored with her in that moment that I would have to go back after the fact, once we sat down, and ask her again, wait, who did you just introduce me to? I am devastated. That was our last dinner. I had 8 more years of agenda items to discuss with Judy as we work toward our 10-year goal. And yet, I'm in awe that I got 2 full years with her. And while Judy liked to quote President Burns, and I'm sure many of us remember her quoting him, everything good that has ever happened in your whole life, Judy, is a result of the University of the Pacific. I say back to you now, Judy, everything that is good that has ever happened in student life is a result of you. If Judy were with us today, she would have tired already of all of this, and she would have moved on to connecting with one of us about how we were doing, or she'd be bugging Danae Anderson about some scheduling room that she wanted to make for the Emeriti Association. She has been and will be my forever North Star as I continue my journey at Pacific. I will feel her spirit each evening as the velvety breeze of the Delta cool me at the end of a hot summer day. And I will dream of her being reunited with her loves as they sip on cocktails just before dinner. I miss you, Judy. We miss you dearly.
Thank you, Maria, for those beautiful and eloquent words and remembrances. Our final chapter today is Judy Chambers as mentor and lifelong friend. Of course, Judy was that to so many people here today. But I had the pleasure of seeing this particular relationship between Judy Chambers and Norm Allen up close. And those observations, perhaps more than any other experience that I've had here at Pacific, taught me what it means to truly be a Pacifican. Like Professor Heraldez, Norm first met Judy when he was an undergraduate. They remained close through his school years when he was ASUOP president and later in his professional life up through his chairmanship of the Pacific Board of Regents. Judy's last official act at Pacific was bestowing the Order of Pacific, our highest honor, on her mentee and her dear friend, Norm Allen. Norm?
Well, Judy's longtime mentor and friend was President Robert E. Burns. It didn't dawn on me until recently that Judy is my Burns. Both of them were Pacific graduates and lifelong Tigers. Both were esteemed leaders of the university, innovators who blazed trails over decades. Both changed the lives of many people, including at least one impressionable up-and-coming leader. Both were, quite simply, icons, people we regard as representative symbols of Pacific and worthy of veneration. Judy got to know Robert Burns as an undergraduate here in Stockton, Their mentoring relationship began early. She worked for him in the late 50s, and she came back to work for him in 1969 and started what would be the rest of her career at Pacific. From the stories she's told me, I'm pretty sure Judy revered him. And he clearly thought the world of her and was proud of all that she accomplished. Similarly, Judy was my longtime mentor and friend. My relationship with Judy began shortly after I arrived in Stockton in 1984. Now, I'll be honest, I had no idea what a vice president for student life was, but pretty soon I knew exactly what one was: Judy. And not just at Pacific, Judy was actually the national president of Student Life Leaders, the personification of a vice president for student life. And because I was involved in so many facets of Pacific's student life, I got to know her well, and I got to see what an amazing person she was. She believed in the transformative power of a Pacific education, and she believed in students. In return, students believed in her. In fact, a fellow resident assistant friend of mine dressed up as Judy for Halloween. Likely not the first or last time that someone wanted to be her. I thought about the ways I spent time with Judy as a student, had the chance to hear her tell a joke, got advice from her, enjoyed her laugh, saw her smile, or her squinting dagger eyes, heard her give a speech or MC an event or tell a story. The many ways in which we connected when I was an undergraduate epitomize how engaged she was with students. She attended our student government events, making sure that we knew that senior university leadership was behind us. We met regularly when I was student body president, sharing our love for Pacific and ideas for how to support our students. I was her paid driver when she was on the Sallie Mae board, taking her to Sacramento or San Francisco for flights, Judy sitting alongside of me, sharing stories with me about her techniques for getting out of traffic tickets. I house sat for her and her first husband, Dewey, and Judy loved to tell the story about the student before me who burned down the garage. Our mutual friend, Jess Marks, reminding her that she hadn't checked with him before hiring that student. And I'm still not sure if she checked with Jess before hiring me. I had the great honor to have Judy hood me on the stage when I received my bachelor's degree, the first in my family to do so. And she attended my family graduation party at my university apartment. I was really proud to have her there and introduced her each time to a family member as our vice president for student life, Judy. Remember, I hadn't even known what a vice president for student life was 4 years before. But Judy, being Judy, noticed that after I introduced her colleague as, quote, my friend Jess Marks. So Judy said, why can't I be your friend? Then and forever, Judy was my friend. And over the next 35 years, she was always there for me. When I left Pacific to work in Ohio for a few years, just as she did, when I had returned to California to attend McGeorge, during the years I served on the Alumni Association board, and during my 9 years on the Board of Regents. When I was elected to the Board of Regents in 2014, she told me, I'm just glad you made it on the board while I'm still here. I cannot imagine I would have made it on the board without the influence she had on me as a Pacifican over all those years. We shared a wonderful friendship and mentorship. She listened carefully to my worries and offered sage advice. I stayed with her in Stockton and Santa Cruz, and she stayed with my partner, Rob, and me in Berkeley. We had numerous Christmas Eve lunches in the city, with a glass or two of wine. I cherished her marriage to her husband, Jim, whose smile I can so clearly see today. We sat on the patio and had pizza and wine, or went for burgers at Bob's with our friend Jess. We were at each other's date at innumerable university events, awards dinners, and homecomings. And just this past spring, ASUOP named Student Leadership Awards for each of us, and we joined their end-of-year dinner. Once again, each other's dates. I've thought about all the ways I spent time with Judy in the past 39 years. I listened to her jokes, got advice from her, enjoyed her laugh, saw her smile or her squinting dagger eyes, and I heard her give one last speech and tell one last story. At commencement this past May, 35 years after she hooded me on the same stage, Judy presented me with the university's highest honor, the Order of Pacific. It was such a moving moment for me to have her there, and I know it was for her. So proud of her mentee who, like her, did good for our alma mater. And I would not have been given that honor without the years of mentorship and friendship that Judy offered me. We had no idea it would be the last time we would share the stage, and it was just perfect. Judy, like her mentor, Robert Burns, is representative of everything it means to be a Pacifican. I revered her, and I suspect she was proud of what I have accomplished, just as I'm sure Burns was proud of her. And how could he not have been? I miss her, but I carry her spirit with me forever.
Thank you, Norm, for those beautiful words and memories. Please let me take a moment to thank all of our speakers today for helping us share the story of this truly remarkable woman. Thank you all. One piece of housekeeping, so I don't forget. Right after today's celebration of life, we're going to head over to the Don and Karen DeRosa University Center to have lunch and to have a glass of Chardonnay, or two, maybe three, in honor of our dear friend, Judy. Now, I have the honor of concluding our tribute today to try to contextualize Judy's legacy. And my job, as I've thought about it, is actually a rather easy one. Quite simply, Judy Chambers helped make this great university what it is today, always focused on the success of our students and building meaningful, long-lasting, lifelong relationships. And Judy did precisely that across our community here in Stockton. I also believe Judy's legacy on a personal level is also rather straightforward. Simply, Judy Chambers made us all better. She made us all more caring. She sometimes made us funnier. And she always made us more focused on the success of our students, on the success of our friends, and on the success of our community. The more difficult question may be, how will Judy's extraordinary legacy be preserved? But in thinking about it, I actually think that's a pretty easy answer also. We are surrounded by her legacy because Judy Chambers continues to live and will continue to live in all of us through the amazing gifts that she's given us over the years. And whether they started as a student, like it did for Norm Allen, Susan Heraldez, Carrie Fox, Mary Lomax Giarduzzi, and so many other Pacific students, or as fellow Stockton civic leaders, such as Kathy Jansen, Kristen Birtwistle, Kathy Hart, and so many of you others who are here today. Or colleagues like Jean Pearson, Ralph Saroyan, Lydia Fox, Phil Oppenheimer, and scores of others. Or as young mentees like Greg Bornman and Allison Dumas and Jess Marks. Or as one of today's students, such as Izzy Gomez, our ASUOP incoming president and recipient, as Maria noted, of the Judy Chambers Scholarship for Student Leadership in our CIP program for students who come from Stockton. Or even in new friends, such as my wife, Jean Marie, who bonded with Judy from the very first day they met and became instant, lifelong friends. Personally, I know when I want to feel and remember the legacy of Judy Chambers, all I have to do is look at my colleague, Maria Blandisi. Maria is a wonderful and truly worthy successor to the Student Life Foundation that Judy built here at Pacific and across American higher education, with her focus on the individual student, their success, and lifelong mentorships and friendships. We all miss Judy terribly, but we can take comfort in knowing that she remains and will always remain an essential part of this university, of this community, and all of us. Thank you. And now to close, I will ask my friend Philo to return to the stage to take us home in a finale. Philo.
That you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. can't I? Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly